Well, how about that AFC South champion Jacksonville Jaguars? To James Gladstone, Tony Baselli, and to first-year head coach Liam Cohen taking this team all the way to the playoffs, possibly beyond. Cheers to you. Welcome back to Jags Japan, where we do all things Jacksonville Jaguars, all things Japan, and anything in between, and I'm just a guy. And this is the post-game show. We are recapping the Jacksonville Jaguars' 41-7 win over the Tennessee Titans, absolute butt-whipping, and the Jaguars taking the crown, the AFC South title, into the playoffs, likely the number 3 seed going in. And what a year and what a finish for this team. Going into this game, you could have said it could have been a letdown. They came out a little bit tight. They came out maybe not playing what you thought with that horrible first drive, and then the Titans going down and scoring pretty easily on this defense. But you just see the talent of this team. The coaching of this team is just better. And they showed it going forward. 24 points in the second quarter, along with 7 in the first, and then 10 in the second half to make it 41-7. I mean, there was everything in this game. You had Trevor Lawrence highlights. You got Cam Little highlights. You got a defensive touchdown, putting away an old rival, the Tennessee Titans. They're in the dumps. They're 3-14, picking, who knows, top 5 in the draft. Jags fans, we don't care about the draft at this point because we're going to the playoffs, and we're hosting a playoff game next week at the bank. We'll see. Most likely it's going to be the Chargers. As I'm filming this, the Broncos are up 10-0 on the Chargers right now, as the Chargers are resting their starters, and so are the Bills. So don't expect anything higher than that 3 seed today, but I think we should just be happy. Hey, we get a home field advantage in the first game of the playoffs, maybe more. We'll see what happens. As the Texans go 12-5, had a great season, better than their last 2, but not good enough, as the Jaguars end up getting 1 more than them and go 13-4. Second best record for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And a lot of interesting records broken today from our quarterback, as we'll get into. But what can you say? From this team, from this coach, this regime, going into this year, I was thinking 8 wins. 8 wins, I'll be happy. The most important thing for me is to have 2 questions answered. Is Liam Cohen the guy, and is Trevor Lawrence really the guy? And though we've seen ups and downs in Trevor Lawrence's career, is he going to be the guy that really we can count on to be the franchise quarterback for years and years to come? I always had faith in Trevor. I believed in him, his talent, what he could be in the NFL, but he's had a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of people were calling, even this season at times, that he's not the guy. The Jaguars should try to move on from that contract. He's not worth the money. But we got both of those questions answered in a resounding yes. Liam Cohen is definitely the guy. I think he is a star of a head coach. And, people always want to talk about Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel and everything for doing a good job that they have. And they have done a good job. But Liam Cohen, I think, is a star in the NFL as a head coach. And we know that first and foremost. Taking this team that really didn't have a culture, give a lot of credit to Tony Baselli as well, coming in, understanding the Jaguars as an organization, coming in and helping to flip this franchise. Someone who's been there, was the first overall pick by the Jaguars in '95, the only Hall of Famer the Jaguars had, the first one. He's lived here all these years. He understands Duval, and he understands a lot of the teams around the NFL as well. So he knows what's good. He knows what's good, and he knows who the Jaguars should be. And this is the best iteration that we've seen of the Jaguars since the 90s. I mean, I was born in 99. I didn't watch those 95 to 99 Jags, those special seasons. I got a taste of it in 2017 and in 2022, and when I was really young in 2007 and 2005. But this team is such a different, such a far cry from Jaguars teams of past, and I think really have a chance to put the Jacksonville Jaguars on the map as a year in, year out postseason contender. We have the guy in Liam Cohen. We know that this was a game that could have easily been a letdown game. They could have played tight, maybe even a close game or even a loss, as we've seen, in these scenarios just in the past few years with this Jaguars team. But this coaching staff gets it, and they know how to get it done. They know how to get the best out of their players, and they know how to get their best out of their quarterback. They're extremely talented, number 1 overall pick quarterback who's going into his 5th season with all the questions around him. And like I said, though I didn't really question Trevor Lawrence, as I thought he was the guy, I just think he's had such a weird career with everything around him. His rookie year with the awful experience with Urban Meyer, and then, Doug Peterson helping him kind of find his footing a little bit, but then just being a total lame duck in the last 2 years and not helping him really get to his ceiling. And then we have Liam Cohen, who brings out more in him. I know ESPN did a really cool interview with him earlier today, or it was aired earlier today, where they talked about that Trevor Lawrence has a new edge to him. He's always been kind of the calm, cool, collected guy, which you want from your quarterback, but there's always been a big outcry of people who've been wanting Trevor to show more emotion on the field, really rip into people, yell, scream, curse, do what you got to do to get the team, rallied. And he's really been that guy this year. He's really brought an edge, and that starts with Liam Cohen. I think it starts at the top with Tony Baselli down. I think they all have that edge. They all want the Jaguars to have that edge. I mean, you saw multiple times today in that game with the Titans' only good player right now, Jeffrey Simmons, who was, in my opinion, the only guy that the Jaguars had to worry about. If they do anything, just keep 98 from wrecking the game, and he did from the very first play. But since that first play, I mean, you just saw them double teaming him, crack blocking him, talking smack all day. There was a one shot of LaQuint Allen, and LaQuint Allen, he's not like the biggest guy. He's just he's a running back. He's a third down back, but he's just in there talking smack to Jeffrey Simmons, one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. It's that kind of attitude that you love to see from this Jaguars team, and something I think Liam Cohen, and from the top down, has really instilled in this team. Liam Cohen's the guy. Trevor Lawrence is the guy. We'll get into his play soon, but this team is the team. It's looking like almost a team of destiny here, 13-4, and getting a home game in the playoffs, winning the AFC South title. I think this year was such an important year to do that. I didn't even have the expectations that they would compete for an AFC South title, but because of the Colts' early dominance, going 8-2, it wasn't even in my mind. If you listen to my previews and post-game shows back then, I was like, yeah, AFC South title, that's out of the question. Let's not worry about that. Let's just see if the Jaguars can improve, maybe make the playoffs. But as we know in the NFL, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. And the Colts start out to an 8-2 record, looking like they only need a few more wins to lock up the AFC South title by week 12. They fall apart, go on a 7-8 game losing streak. And then the Jags and Texans end up going on an 8 and a 9 game winning streak to close out the year. And the Jaguars had no help from any other team. That's one thing that's crazy, is that usually to have a special year or, to make it far, you got to have some help from maybe other NFL teams that end up knocking out either rival teams in your division or other things like that. Jaguars got none of that. They really had to scratch and claw their way through every win because the Texans were breathing down their neck and they weren't stopping. As of now, the Texans did beat the Colts earlier today, so they finished 12-5 and lock up that number 5 seed. So they will go on the road and face the number 4 seed, which will be decided tonight, either the Patriots or the Ravens. But the fact that the Jaguars had no help and they still did it, I didn't think at all that the Jaguars would go on an 8-game winning streak to close out the year. And I didn't think the Texans would go on a 9-game winning streak to close out the year. I really thought, at some point, both of these teams are going to have that letdown game. But I thought the Jaguars could still end up winning the division because, who just goes on a 9-game or an 8-game winning streak in the NFL? That just doesn't happen a lot. We saw the Broncos do that, obviously, this year. Then the Jags end up snapping it on the 11-game winning streak. So, I just thought that at some point the Texans are going to falter. Even if the Jags falter, they'll still end up winning the division. But no, the Texans didn't falter at all. kudos to them getting 12 wins. They had their best year in the CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans era, but they still end up not winning the division because this Jags team is just that different. But to not get any help and still end up taking care of business every single week, and most of the time in blowout fashion. I mean, I didn't expect the Jaguars to win in Denver, but they did, and not only that, but they beat them by 20 points. I mean, we look at the Jaguars' schedule, and it's since that Texans loss where they gave up the 19-point lead, blowout Chargers, close win on the road to the Cardinals, blowout Titans, blowout Colts, blowout Jets, blowout Broncos, close win on the road to the Colts, win by 6, and then blowout Titans 41-7, biggest of the year. I mean, that's special. And especially when you look at the points scored, I mean, we're looking at almost an average of, it's got to be an average of like 33 points a game. And yeah, some of these teams weren't that good, like the Jets and the Titans and the Colts with nothing to play for half the year. But still, it's the NFL. This isn't college. You don't just blow out every opponent like that. And especially the Broncos on the road, you blew them out by 2 touchdowns. So say what you will, but the Jaguars might be the best team in the AFC and probably the hottest team in the NFL. If you can wrap your mind around that. So good for the Jaguars, good for the Liam Cohen era. I mean, like I said, we're probably not going to see any higher seed than the 3rd. And like I said, the Jaguars will never get any help. They got to do it all themselves because all they had to do was if one of these teams, the Broncos or the Patriots, would falter a little bit. But they never do. Patriots up 14-7 on the Dolphins. I'm sure they'll win that game as well. But at this point, we shouldn't be scared or we shouldn't feel any certain way of who the Jaguars have to face. I really think the Jaguars can beat anyone in the AFC hands down, and I think it might not even be close. I think maybe the closest game could be the Texans or the Patriots. Those are the 2 teams that I feel like are the best out of the AFC. You know, the Bills, of course, they scare me because of Josh Allen, and that's the most likely team the Jaguars will face next week. But I think when you just look at team-wise, even if he's full-on Superman, I think if you contain the team enough and the Jaguars score enough points, I think you should have no problem winning that game, especially in Jacksonville. So I think that there's no team the Jaguars should be scared of. And even if they have to go on the road to Denver or to the Patriots later on this year, that shouldn't be a problem either. And I think the Texans defense, yes, they've had amazing moments this year, but I think they are a little overrated and have had the ball moved on them quite a bit in the past few weeks, especially today with Riley Leonard, the backup, scoring exactly 30 points on them in that game. So Jaguars win the division, huge for this kind of taking back the AFC South title from the Texans. I think that was such a big deal. I think when the Texans took it in 2023 and, the Jaguars had that collapse after that 2022 season, I mean, we thought, oh, this is the Jaguars division. We're going to be king of the hill for a while. The South's going to run through Duval for who knows how long until Trevor Lawrence retires, right? And then we have that collapse. The Texans come out of nowhere. They go 10-7. They win. The next year, the AFC South is a total joke. The Texans win it again. I think this year was awesome to not only say, like, hey, the Jaguars are here and they're going to be competitive, but no, they're actually going to take it from you, and they're going to have a better record than any team the AFC South has had in a long time. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I cannot remember a year in the AFC South where a team gets 12 wins and doesn't win the division. Usually it's like 9 wins, 10 wins, maybe 11, but and sometimes the AFC South is that awful division. It's that awful team, kind of like the NFC South this year, where like a team with a losing record could get in, And the Jags have always never taken advantage of that. It's always been, oh wow, 8 wins might win the AFC South this year. Too bad the Jaguars are top 3 worst team in the league this year again. But this year they weren't. They were in fact one of the best teams in the NFL. But it took that to actually win the division. I think the AFC South this year might be either second or third best division in football. Obviously, the NFC West is on a different level. They have, 3 12-win teams. in there. And the AFC West as well is pretty good. They're going to have two double-digit win teams as well. But the AFC South is right there, I think. When you got the Texans 12-5 and the Jaguars at 13-4. Nothing really comes close to that besides the NFC West. But let's get into this game a little bit. We'll get into a little bit of the game flow. Enough of the ramble on what this meant. AFC South title. I just want this to be a celebration. Jaguars win AFC South. That's why I'm popping the Sopero, even though it's we got New Year's resolutions. We all gotta try to live a little bit healthier, try to get the New Year's on track. The Jaguars did with that win. I'm back in my home apartment studio, thankfully. Done with vacations, excited to get back into a routine. I'm sure as a lot of you guys are. But this game, I think, just shows everything about this team. I mean, start out slow, as I feel like the Jaguars do a little bit, especially on defense, but this week it was the offense. They elect to take the ball and don't even get any positive yardage. I mean, the first play of the game, Jeffrey Simmons sacks Trevor Lawrence for 8 yards. And we're thinking, okay, well, that's not what you want to do. That's the one guy I said we can't let ruin the game, but they end up doing that anyways. Then the Titans come down and score a touchdown easily. I mean, I don't think Cam Ward even had a incompletion on that drive. He marches right down, gets a 7-yard touchdown run, and then he gets hurt. And then after that, it was all Jags. I mean, Trevor comes out, and they don't even try to run the ball. They run the ball on the first play for 2 yards. And then it's 22-yard pass, 4-yard pass, 6-yard pass, 5-yard pass, boom, 22-yard touchdown pass to Parker Washington, who, by the way, leads the Jaguars in receiving yards this year, which is kind of crazy because the Jaguars don't have a receiver that's even sniffing 1,000 yards in a 17-game season. And this offense is looking like this. This offense is easily putting up 30 points a game. And we don't have that Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, what we thought Brian Thomas Jr. was going into the season, what we thought we were going to have in the playmaker and Travis Hunter. We don't have any of that. And this team, by spreading the ball to multiple different players and just going to the open guy, which a lot of the times is Parker Washington, it just shows how special of a quarterback I think we have, because I think it takes a special quarterback to not have that number one receiver and still put up that kind of points, because usually if you have the number one guy, if you have a guy like Nico Collins or Jamar Chase and it's third down, you're going to that guy. You don't care if he's triple covered. You just throw it up and he usually makes a play on it. Trevor Lawrence doesn't have that guy. Now, Jacoby Myers, Brenton Strange, Parker Washington, BTJ, they're all great receivers. I love them, but they're not right now that guy. So it shows a lot in the offense, the offensive mind of Liam Cohen, and the capabilities of Trevor to be able to get this amount of points and yardage without that go-to guy. So we get that touchdown there. Awesome for Parker Washington. Love the little touchdown celebration he had there with the golfing. That was fun. And then a little bit of a punt fest. And then we get to the second quarter where it was all Jags. 24 points in the second quarter. And we got a touchdown pass to Brenton Strange, which just looked easy. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was just toying with the Titans defense all day. It just looked easy. It looked like slow motion for Trevor, which was awesome to kind of see this offense really humming at all cylinders. And then of course the play of the game on defense, Antonio Johnson, spoiler alert, probably going to be my defensive player of the game, gets the pick six to make it 21-7, which I was waiting for that play. I was waiting for, okay, when is the defense going to step up, make that play to put it away? And it happened there against the backup quarterback. Antonio Johnson, who, in my opinion, I think the most improved player on the Jaguars defense this year. I could say that Trevor Lawrence is the most improved player for the Jaguars offense this entire year. But going into the season, Antonio Johnson on the defense, I didn't even have him making the team in my preview. I thought the Jaguars gave him kind of a chance last year to be that starter. Once Dewey went out early in preseason, we knew it was going to be Cisco and it was going to be Antonio Johnson. And we had Antonio Johnson being a fifth-round pick. Hey, let's see what we have in the guy. He has showed some flashes his rookie year in 23. Let's see what he's got in him. And he had an awful year. Let's be real. I mean, it was not good. I mean, that whole defense was terrible, but him specifically, I thought the Jaguars needed to make some major upgrades at safety after that year, after how horrible that secondary was, and he was just lost most of the year. But this year he has a role in the offense. He's a ball hawking safety, makes really good tackles as we saw in the game, and then of course has eyes on the quarterback as does this whole defense, and makes the awesome 58-yard interception return for the touchdown. And then after that, Titans punt again, and then we get Trevor Lawrence's third touchdown of the day. Again, another easy drive, all passing. We had one or two Tootin and ETN runs, but I mean, Trevor Lawrence just feeling comfortable, gets it to Quentin Morris for the touchdown. And then before half, of course, we get an awesome Cam Little 67-yard field goal, which was so awesome to see. You see 9 seconds left, and the Titans, they have a chance at a 69-yard field goal to actually break his record, and they don't even try it. They do a Hail Mary, and they don't get it, obviously. And then 3 seconds left, and you see Cam Little coming out there, and it's like, oh my gosh, is he gonna not only have the NFL record, but also the second longest field goal? And of course, he not only bangs it through there, but he bends it in there, which is, I feel like, even more impressive, because usually you just kick it as hard as you can, but he was almost kicking it with a little bit of finesse, and it would have been good from 72 outdoors. So longest field goal in NFL history outdoors. And now when you look at the top kicks for top field goals ever made in the NFL, it goes Cam Little, 68 and 67. So that was awesome to see. And then from there it was all Jags. The second half, the only thing I'll mention about the second half, it was awesome to see that they kept Trevor in to get that 4,000 yards passing. That's something that you don't think is really that big of a deal, but obviously it was enough of a big deal for Liam Cohen, helping change the narrative around the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence as not just this scrappy small market team that somehow lucked its way to 13-4. No. We're a good team. We have great players and we have a great quarterback, and we're going to show that, so that now that Trevor Lawrence, he has obviously the big plays, he has the big moments, but now he's got the stats to back it up. And I think there's a real case. He probably won't win it, but I think there's a real case for MVP when you look at who in the NFL has been the best team or has been the best players for their teams and who's the most important to their teams. I know right now it's a 2-horse race with Stafford and Drake May, but when you look at the numbers now, Trevor is right up there with them, a little bit behind, but when you look at just the play of him, I think it's right up there with them, and I think Trevor Lawrence is playing as good as any quarterback in the NFL right now, in my opinion at least. Right now Broncos are up 10-0. Like I said, don't worry about Jaguars. I have full confidence whoever they're playing, that's going to be a good game. More on the stats. Interesting about this game, Jaguars did not run the ball well at all. Not that I thought they would. My key to the game, I would have liked to see more ETN and Tootin. Like to see a little bit more run, just kind of help get the run game going before the playoffs start. But I was not expecting 24 for 64, 2.7 yards a carry overall with all of the rushes. I thought they would run the ball a little more, but it was obvious that with the injuries to the secondary of the Titans and just how bad they are on defense, that there was really no shot at that the Jaguars weren't going to try to pass heavily on this team. As you see Trevor go 22 for 30 for 255 and 3 touchdowns in the air. It was all in the receiving game. I mean, Parker Washington, 5 receptions for 87 yards and a touchdown. Brenton Strange, 6 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown. Brian Thomas still getting back to who we think he can be, 3 for 49. He did go out earlier in the game with some injury. Looked like it might have been a concussion, but he actually came back in the game, thankfully. And that was kind of something we saw a lot today, which is something you never want to see, is injuries, but especially going into the playoffs in a game that you're probably going to win. The last thing you want to see is people go down. Obviously, the most concerning of which would be Cole Van Lennon. We'll see what happens with him. I don't know what it was. Looked like he had kind of a knee bruise or something, but hope he's okay. Hope he's good to go for the offense, to be the left tackle next week against whoever we play, whether it's the Bills or the Chargers. But sucks to see that. I hope he's okay. We just extended him, which I thought was a really good deal. I thought extending Cole Van Landen, he's proved it that he is someone the Jaguars should keep on the roster. And has solidified that left tackle position. So I'm excited for that for the future. It's obvious that Walker Little might be the odd man out, but if Cole Van Landen can't go, it might be Walker Little in the playoffs at left tackle. We'll see. Hopefully everything's fine. But the offense in general, all through the passing game, it just looked too easy. Even though I would have liked to see the rushing game go a little bit more, it was cool at least just to see this team assert their dominance in any way that they kind of wanted to. Today was through the passing game. 41-7, Jaguars 13-4 and 5-1 in the division, dominating the division. If it weren't for just that 19 point upset to the Texans, they would have swept the division actually. But I've said it before, I don't think this team is this team unless that happens. We look through the season, and a lot of people want to say, "Oh my gosh, they could have been 15-2 if it weren't for the loss to the Bengals and the Texans." But I think that loss to the Bengals in Week 2 was something that helped them to win games like the Cardinals and the Colts later in the year. I even said that as like, okay, if they lose that game, it's not a big deal as long as they maybe improve on it and figure out ways to not let that happen again. And the Texans game, I think, was big for the Jaguars to understand, hey, it doesn't matter how bad you're being an opponent, you still have to play all three phases and play them well if you want to win in the NFL. And since that Texans loss, it's been blowout 6 out of 8 games. 6 out of 8 games have been absolute blowouts. So, yeah, the Jaguars should have won that game, won both of those games, but I think they're not the team they are if it weren't for stuff like that happening. And now you're sitting at a battle-tested 3rd seed in the AFC playoffs where they've won on the road in Denver, not afraid to going up to Denver, not afraid to go to New England, who, in my opinion, New England is a team that is a good team, but a little bit helped out by the softest schedule in the NFL. And I don't think the Patriots would want to play the Jaguars, who have had one of the harder schedules in the NFL and battle-tested through it. As long as the Jaguars can stay healthy, I think they can win any game in the NFL. And I think they're one of the best teams in the NFL. And they showed it today. Even though it's a bad Titans team, they did what they had to do. And a lot of teams sometimes don't do that. But the Jaguars did. So 41-7, Jaguars 13-4, AFC South champions. What more can you say? So proud of this team. Going into this year, just had no idea what was in store, right? First year under Liam Cohen, under James Gladstone, under Tony Baselli. It was definitely a little emotional watching the last part of that game. It was a quick game, by the way. It was done by like 3:30. That's just how much of a blowout it was. But I can't wait to see the post-game locker room speech. I can't wait to see all the post-game interviews, everything, the sounds of the game for next week. And yes, we got to turn our attention really quickly to the wild card round. We'll see where the Jaguars are playing, what time, and who they are playing against. We'll know all of that, I believe, by tomorrow, hopefully. And I'll definitely have my preview coming out for that game coming up hopefully on Tuesday, unless the Jaguars somehow get the number 1 overall seed, which is very unlikely, but we'll see what happens. Either way, I'm excited to make more videos this week about the Jaguars in general. Let's get into the players of the game. Offensive player of the game. I was going back and forth a little bit, but I think it's obvious who it is. And when I think about offensive player of the game, is who stood out to win the game for the Jaguars on offense. And I think today it was Trevor Lawrence. I thought about Parker Washington. He had another great game. I've gone with him 2 games in a row because he's been that special, especially in the late half of the year. But I think Trevor was just on his game today, full on. We have our guy, quarterback, QB1, I think playing some of the best quarterback in the NFL right now. And, had over that 70% completion percentage today, 255, 3 touchdowns, got over that 4,000 yards, which was really cool for him. Broke the record for Jaguars touchdowns overall by a quarterback in a single season. Broke Blake Bortles' record in 2015 of 35, which is really cool to see. I think he does definitely deserve that. He's had a really special year, especially coming on in the late half. And he was just in total control of the game. Offense ran through him, and he did anything he wanted on the offensive side. So it was cool to see him have a great game. 131.9 rating. Obviously, other considerations, definitely Parker Washington and Brenton Strange, the two Penn State boys that just keep coming up every single week. And they better pay Parker Washington after this year. Got to keep him on as a Jaguar. He's one of my favorite players to watch, him and Brenton Strange, honestly. On defense, I mentioned it before. I'm going Antonio Johnson. That was the play of the game. That was what the Jaguars needed at the time. And go from a guy, most improved player on defense. And awesome to see him get that touchdown, first touchdown of his career, and 5th interception of the season. Special shout-outs on defense. I thought Lloyd was all over the field. Our linebackers of Lewicon and Lloyd, I think, play so solid each week in, week out. And then also to Greg Newsome, I thought he was all over the field as well. So hopefully he's okay with that shoulder injury. He did come back and end up playing. But we're going to the playoffs. Hopefully if Cole Van Lanen healthy going to the playoffs, we're looking at a team that is almost at like full strength and ready to beat down whoever that first opponent will be, most likely Buffalo. Not scared at all. So I'm excited to get into that next week. I'll have that preview out on hopefully Tuesday or Wednesday. It's been a special year. The regular season is finished. It is time to get into playoffs, and I wasn't expecting that going into this year. Playoff football for the Jaguars. I'm going to be doing these previews and post-game shows past going into January, but they're starting up soon, so yes, enjoy this AFC South title, AFC South champion Jacksonville Jaguars, but we got the playoffs on the line. I think the Jaguars are poised. I think they can make a real run. This could be the year. I'm not going to say it. We'll see what happens, but and Super Bowl really isn't even my mind, but maybe it should be because I think they're really that good this year. So we'll see. Good for the Jags. Good for Duval. Hope you guys had a great time watching this game. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday and going into the first Monday of 2026. So with all that out of the way, go Jags. Appreciate you guys watching the channel and supporting all the support. It's been awesome to see. I'm excited to get to do this every week and excited to get to do it even more going into the rest of January. So with all that out of the way, go Jags, and I'll see you later.